think we're gonna, oh, got it. All right. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon for our SMART series on Get a Grip on your business. Are you running your business or is it running you? Probably depends on the day, right? I'm Kim Casco, President and CEO of the Iowa City Area Business Partnership. And this afternoon, we're joined by Rob Taylor and Michelle Owens, who are both professional EOS implementers with EOS Worldwide. And they're going to be talking all about EOS, which, by the way, stands for Entrepreneurial Operating System. And our team loves talking about EOS as well. We've been using this framework at the Business Partnership since 2019, and it has really been a great tool for us to guide our strategic planning and growth. And before we get started with Rob and Michelle's presentation here, and I just introduced them there, I do want to mention that in some ways, this program is a little bit of a teaser to really whet your appetite to attend our full day EOS event coming up on October 27th at the Hilton Garden Inn. And that we're going to have Mike Payton as our keynote for that. And Mike has authored, I think, a couple different books on EOS, was maybe one of the original EOS implementers. And so he'll be kicking things off, and Michelle and Rob are going to be there as well, facilitating some breakout groups. And it's really meant for all levels of EOS users, as well as to-be users, to learn more. And so we hope that all of you on the call today will want to join us on October 27th. And Bianca's going to put more information in the chat, a link to our website on that event, as well as how you can get registered for that. Before I turn things over to Michelle and Rob here, there are a couple thank yous I have, people who have made this program possible. First, Mediacom Business. They are our lead sponsor for the SMART Series program. And they have a little video they wanted me to share with you all. So bear with me for a moment. Hopefully I can get this running. We tested it out and it works.
What's the measure of success for my business? It's the ability to keep serving my customers, keep evolving, keep succeeding under any circumstances. It's also having the right technology to restructure, reimagine, or reboot my business without slowing down. Fast, secure business Wi-Fi internet from Mediacom Business helps me achieve this, no matter what the future brings to my doors. Mediacom Business makes it easy for small business to do big things.
There we go. Again, thank you to Mediacom Business. If you have any questions or would like to get in touch with them, contact Terry Carpenter. Information is here right on our page here as well. Or get in touch with us and we'll be happy to connect you. We also have several supporting sponsors for the series: BRL, Human Resources and Payroll Consulting, the City of Coralville, the City of Iowa City, and Terry Lockridge and Dunn. Thank you as well to those sponsors for supporting this program. Now, one quick logistical note before I really do hand it over to Rob and Michelle. As you saw, we're recording this session. We'll get it posted to our YouTube page afterwards if you want to rewatch it. And also, if you have any comments or questions throughout this presentation, feel free to use the chat function, or raise your hand. I think Rob and Michelle have a great hour here planned for you, and I want to hear from you as well. So with that said, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here and turn it over to Michelle.
Okay, share the screen. And I will let Rob kick us off.
Good afternoon, everyone. As we get started, I also want to point out Jason Berger. Jason, say hello. You're another professional EOS implementer in Iowa, so want to make sure you get a little spotlight here. So welcome, Jason.
Thanks, Rob. Yeah, no, I'm really excited to be part of this and help out in Iowa City when the time comes.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. Yeah. Well, everyone, Michelle's pulling up our presentation, and let me give you a little bit of a high level of what we're doing here and where this is going. Kim introduced this topic, this EOS. What is EOS? This Entrepreneurial Operating System at a high level for those who don't know what EOS is or want to just help get a better understanding, it's simply put, it's a complete proven system with simple practical tools that help you and your business get vision, traction, and healthy. Vision in that your whole organization, all employees are on the same page with where you're going and a plan to get you there. Getting traction in that you're accountable and disciplined, everyone throughout the organization and achieving that vision. And you're healthy and that you're a cohesive, functional team that likes to work together, because sometimes we get those certain leaders and personalities that make it hard to work together. So EOS is the topic today. And as Michelle's going through the agenda here, we're going to start off this concept of getting real. We're going to really talk about real frustrations in running a business, because running a business is hard. We're going to talk about keeping it simple with a simple review of the EOS tools that ultimately help you get what you want, getting the results you want from your business. So that's our agenda. So as we talk about getting real, running a successful business is rewarding, but it has lots of frustrations. In EOS, we say there are issues. Everything's simply an issue. But ultimately, these frustrations in your business are things like the control, having the business controlling you, feeling like you're working maybe not just 80 hours a week, but even more in some cases. Other frustrations like dealing with profit, the money, not enough of it in your business, working all those hours to not have much to show for it. Other frustrations like people, just getting the people today, keeping the people today, and managing performance, developing the people you need. Ultimately, in a business, hitting the ceiling, you're stuck, and ultimately things just aren't working. So these are the typical frustrations in a business from the ownership, the leadership position, really all throughout. And EOS is designed to help deal with all of these. Before we go on, this is where we get a little bit of audience participation right up front. And we're looking for just 3 people just to chime in, just share a frustration you're having today. Or if you have implemented EOS and you look back at those early days, what were some of the frustrations you were dealing with as you started using EOS? So just 2 or 3 volunteers to share some frustrations of what it's like to lead and run a business. Love to hear some of the pains people are dealing with. Who should I call on? I'm sure this list on the screen resonates with somebody, especially as Michelle always says, there's people issues everywhere. Julie, jump in.
I think this year is especially hard to run a business where some of the employees are remote and some are not. And last year, I think we did pretty well holding it together and everyone was pretty patient. And this year there seems to be less of that, myself included, that it's more difficult.
Absolutely. Thank you, Julie. Yeah, the remote working, virtual working. Somebody else. Current frustration, or if you're running on EOS and you're frustration free, what was it like when you started?
This is Tony Schmalz.
Hey, Tony.
I think we are running EOS. Prior to EOS, I think implementing any sort of change or improvement was extremely challenging, and that was probably one of our bigger issues prior to EOS. Not that it's perfection at the moment, but it's incredibly better now.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Tony. Good to see you. Yeah. One other. This is what EOS is all about, helping deal with these very things. Maybe Kim, would you mind if I call on you? I know you've been running on EOS for a while. Kim, with early on, what were some of the things that you were seeing up front that your frustrations you were dealing with?
Oh, I think, early on, it was more like how to get out of, just firefighting mode and into more just strategic and intentional directional, like we were, trying to reinvent ourselves and, how to, create bandwidth for that. Now, I will say that's been challenging over the past year and a half. Like we've kind of all gone back in that firefighting mode and are now trying to get back out of it. And so that's something I felt myself, but hear a lot from business leaders and owners as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kim. Yeah. Well, I'm going to Michelle go to the next slide. We're going to talk about how does EOS help with all of that, firefighting, getting projects done, and just the whole, how do we work together face to face and or virtual. This whole model you're saying that we call this the 6 key components. It all starts back early on. The creator of EOS, this Entrepreneurial Operating System, Gino Wickman, the author of the book Traction, he discovered early on that at any given time, businesses, entrepreneurial businesses, are dealing with some 136 issues at any given time. And when you strengthen these 6 key components, those issues tend to go away. So it starts with what we call vision. And you think about you becoming the business you want to be, a great business, you've got to have a great vision. Everyone aligned, top to bottom, where we're going and a plan to get there, that vision being shared by all. Well, to achieve a great vision, the next component's got to be strong. You got to have great people, the right people, and they have to be in the right seats. And really, EOS is helping you define who are the people that fit and how do you get them in the right seats to really get to where you want to get to, that accountability piece. So once you have those 2 strong, this data component comes into mind, which is helping you have the objective data, helping you have a pulse on the business to make sure you're on track to be getting toward what you want, your vision. And this is helping keep you, entrepreneurial businesses get a lot into the more emotional piece of the business. It hits at their heart, but we're trying to have just the right amount of data, giving them a pulse on, are we going the right direction? Are we on track? Are we getting there? So the 4th component being strong is where we look at, okay, you got this strong vision, you got this strong, where yet, your people are on board with you and you got this data telling you how you're doing and you start to see you have all these issues. And the point is, great companies, strong leadership teams and great companies have to be effective at identifying issues and quickly or effectively resolving them so they don't just keep repeating themselves. So that's the 4th component that's got to be strong. The 5th, one of the most least desirable things to deal with in some entrepreneurial businesses, is this thing we call process. But ultimately, having a handful of core processes that are documented, followed by all, that gives you the consistency you need of either your service and or the product you're delivering to your customers, and that's scalable as you grow the business. Last but not least, we're bringing this vision to the ground and strengthening the traction component of your business. Call it the execution piece. How do we carry out and achieve the vision? Having the cadence, having the pulse throughout the year to make sure we're on track and that we're setting plans, predicting what we can get done, getting it done 90 days, the next year, on down the road, even week to week. So that's the 6 key components of the business. Getting those strong. And as we look at that, talking about Julie's comment about virtual working together, the process piece, the people piece, the traction component, cadence, those are the 3 components I can think of right away that help with that piece. The project piece that Tony mentioned, the traction component of setting rocks, maybe even the process component, those really help with clear who is getting what done when, and is it on track to get done, because projects sometimes take on a life of their own if you're not careful. And firefighting, having that, putting out the fires and keeping them out with a proactive approach, having the right people in the right seats on the people component, also the process component, and for that matter, having the issues component, dealing with that. So those are components pulling you in to understand EOS is designed to help deal with those frustrations. So with that in mind, I think I'm going to turn over to Michelle, and we're going to talk about this thing called keeping it simple.
Thanks, Rob. Yeah, keep it simple. A lot of what we talk about with EOS is less is more. Keep it simple, Simon. All businesses face very similar frustrations, and each of these key components and strengthening those areas help your business thrive. So at the core of what we're talking about is discipline and accountability. I think that's the biggest thing. And that's about bringing your vision down to the ground and executing on it really well, day in and day out. And so simply put, one of the things we love to talk about is you're running your business anyway. And for what? I mean, if you have to run your business, think about the first thing, systemize the predictable so you can humanize the exceptional. And it's really about simplifying how you operate. You're operating your business. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is really, we talk to companies about what do you want from your company? So whether you own a company, whether you lead in a company, whether you're an employee of a company, we really just wanted to pause for a moment and think about this with the group. One of the things we try to do is have hands-on opportunity for you to learn, but what do you want from your company and what are the obstacles getting in the way? Are you thinking of retiring in 5 years? Do you want to pass your business on to your children? Do your children even want it? Is it in any position to sell? These are things that we're thinking about. What do you want from your company? Is there any, we can have conversation. We can kind of think about it for a few. Any obstacles in the way? Just something to think about, as you take something away from today, think about that. We all have an opportunity to really drive toward those outcomes. If you look at bringing it all together, so Rob touched on each of these 6 key components, and it's really about bringing it all together, and it's harmonizing and orchestrating all the moving parts of your business when we talk about EOS. The truth of the matter is most businesses are running at about 20% strong in each of these 6 key categories. And so to the extent that you can strengthen, that's what we're working toward. And we work toward that with simple tools and disciplines in each of these key categories. We want to start with people first. People seem to be the #1 frustration right now. And that's been the case always, right? 80% of your issues are people, but why? If we roll that back a little bit, and we'll talk and dive deeper into this at the conference, but we really want to walk you through the right people, the right seats. If you have great people, you can fulfill your vision. But what does the right people mean for you? Every company is unique in that way. So let's take it one at a time. Right people. So if you are wanting if we want to talk about the right people, one of the things that we look at are your core values. And so I'm going to walk you through an example here of one tool that we use called the People Analyzer. And so if you think about your values as a company, this is just one example. And this is EOS, humbly confident, grow or die, help first, do the right thing, do what you say. Those are our 5 values. As you look at your values, if you want to live and breathe each of your values and have your values come alive, they are the core key characteristics and the core traits of what you want from your organization. We look at those values and we look at the people in the seats. Okay, so we've got hockey example here. Wayne is one person. Let's say Sydney is another person and Steve is a third. If you look at the People Analyzer, finding out whether you have the right people, it's really looking at that in comparison to your core values. So Wayne here lives and breathes each of these 5 core values. Sydney, on the other hand, struggles sometimes to be humbly confident, struggles to help first, and might struggle to do the right thing. Sometimes she is exemplifying the value of grow or die, and sometimes she's exemplifying do what you say. So we take it one person at a time. We really look at the People Analyzer in comparison to the values. And then we set the bar. What works for your unique organization? What is the standard that you will accept for your people, and making sure that you have the right people in your company? The bar in this case is we've got to have 3 pluses and a plus or minus in a couple is acceptable because we want to continue and help people grow and make sure that we're exemplifying these core values.
Mhm.
So that's the people analyzer. I don't know, Rob, if you want to add anything else there.
My 2 cents, what I find with business owners is when you step back and think about your organization, whether you have 10 employees or 15, 20, up to 100 or 400, and when you start to think about having everyone in your business who is routinely demonstrating the core values of your organization, just think of the power. Just think of what that could look like in your organization. And it sometimes also helps to look at on here, we have this Sidney Crosby, a hockey example. I can't say that I remember Sidney that well, but to look at the negatives on here, when you have a negative, that's basically saying that someone's routinely not demonstrating humbly confident, is not demonstrating help first, not demonstrating doing the right thing. And that's another way of saying if they were to leave the organization, there's usually this big, it feels so much better that he or she's gone. And each of us at some point in our life have been in an organization where someone has left and you have that moment where you're like, wow, it feels better here. You want that to be that's the culture we're talking about. And when an organization is maybe struggling to keep people, it's usually because of these core values fit and the culture of your organization.
Yeah, so I'm kind of curious. I'd love to call a few folks that are running on EOS, and the people aspect is such a key area of keeping your culture alive. Does anybody have examples of how this might have helped you during COVID?
This is Tony again. So, and I'm not sure specific to COVID, but I do know that we have found that establishing the core values, that we apply it to any sort of decision making, and as the decision gets harder, and you know, it would apply to COVID when you're up against so many unique situations and unique issues. That using, you know, the core values and taking a hard look at them and saying, does our decision meet, you know, all of our core values, helped, or if we've got, you know, multiple choices on which direction to go, evaluating which ones best closely align with our core values really helped us with decision making and helped eliminate some, you know, options or decisions that were obviously contrary to one or more of our core values, where in the past we probably would have just spent twice as much time arguing through every decision and trying to determine what the best one. So I think that using the core values just to help process your decision making has been huge, I feel, from our standpoint.
I love that, Tony, because it's so much more than the people. We're talking about the people aspect, but it's across each area of your business. And even for that matter, your employees, that's one type of contribution to your company. But what about your vendors? What about your customers? How are they
Correct.
also demonstrating your core values? It's really important to create a win-win. Excellent. Thank you for sharing. Okay. Talk about this in a second. All right. Okay. So that's the one tool we use is the people analyzer. The second tool we talk about is the accountability chart. And it's really structure first, people second. And this is something that's helpful for you as you think about your company. So I'm going to walk you through one section at a time. But the first thing that we look at with the accountability chart is the key categories, the key functions for you to run your business. So this is really helpful for any company to be thinking about their business in this way. If you think about the key categories, you typically will have and need to have strong in each of these three, something that's bringing in sales and marketing. You're bringing in the business in some way. You'll have an operations category or two, but the operations, you're delivering a service or a product. From a financial perspective, there are dollars coming in and out of your company. So those are three really critical types of functions for any business, any entrepreneurial business. And we look at that, that structure for you as a company. And then we take a look at the integrator. And when we look at an integrator, that is the glue that's holding everyone together. And so you'll see the integrator here. That is somebody that's overseeing each of those core functions and acting in the best interest of the company. So you no longer are making decisions on a functional level. Say you need a new CRM and the sales is fighting for a CRM. But it's overall as a company, how do we move this business forward? And you're making decisions collectively. The second tier that you'll see here, which might be unique to some companies, is visionary. Not all companies have a visionary, but it's really helpful if you have an individual in your company helping to lead the company. That is the 30,000 foot, looking around the corner, big ideas, big relationships. That is a very positive balance to have a visionary and an integrator, because just as many great ideas are out there, you can be consumed with new ideas. So how do you keep the focus? The integrator helps keep that focus. So we establish first, what is the structure for the company? So that's something for you to look at. And then the second thing that we look at is, what are the roles? What are the responsibilities? So for you to move your company forward, what are the key roles to each of those functions? So if you did have, say, the sales and marketing component or function, what are the roles and responsibilities for that? And it might look something like this. Maybe LMA, which stands for lead, manage, and accountability. You have people that you are responsible for. There's a number of responsibilities around that. You have maybe marketing. You need to hit sales numbers. You're selling and account management. So the first thing we do is look at the function and then the roles. And then we talk about the name. And so let's break this out a little bit. Get it, want it, and capacity to do it. Before you put somebody in a position, we really look at the capabilities of that individual for that position. So if you have a center position, for instance, we want this center person to win face-offs and create scoring chances, to score goals, etc. So when we talk about get it, before we put a name in that seat, that's the innate key skills and abilities to do that job. Not everybody can be a center, but they also have to want it. You know, if you're going to put somebody in a center position, we really want people on our teams that want that function. And because you can't pay somebody enough to if they don't want it, right? But then capacity, that's the third thing. Do they have the capabilities to do this job well? An example would be, I have an amazing engineer and I want to elevate that engineering person into a manager position. Do they have the capacity to take on that role? There may be some additional training, et cetera, required, but the capacity is the third element that we look at. So those are the three things. And then we really look at it from back to the individual. So we're adding to the people analyzer. Do we get it? Do we want it? Do we have the capacity to do it? And so Wayne here, Sydney and Steve, to use the same names as an example, Wayne gets it, he wants it, and he has the capacity to do it. Sydney, everything's checked out there, but doesn't have the capacity to do it. And then Steve doesn't get it, but wants it and has the capacity. So we're just really looking at that. It creates a simplified way to look at the people in the accountability chart to make sure that we're setting up our teams for success. That's the biggest thing. Everybody wants to be successful. Let's help them do that. And then we set a bar. It's really important, if I'm going to have a center position filled, I've got the right person in there. So we set the bar as a company, what's unique to your company. Okay, and then the accountability chart could look something like this, right? You've got your visionary, you've got your integrator, you have your three seats here. In this case, marketing, sales, operations, and then finance, 4. That's how this particular company laid it out. And then specific functions below that. So it's very clear. And the reason why this is an important tool is it creates the clarity. So Julie, you were talking about even the hybrid. A lot of that's technology and how do you have, strong meetings, et cetera. But sometimes it's also what's happening in those roles. So if you have clarity in the accountability chart and you understand who is doing what, the goal here is that we're holding our teams accountable to achieve results for the areas that they're responsible for. So sometimes in small businesses, the reason we help to move toward this is because you may have, for instance, in a small business, 4 people that currently own operations. That's the tricky part, right? Who's ultimately responsible? So we really look through that. There's 2 kinds of things that are going to happen when we look at the right people in the right seats. You might have the right person in the wrong seat, or you might have the wrong person in the right seat. And I'll break that down. Here's what that looks like. The right person in the wrong seat. They fit your values and your company and your culture like a glove. You love them, but perhaps they're right now in the wrong seat. So hopefully you have an organization large enough that you can move that right person into a right seat, and you'll have better success for their, they'll have better success, and you will as a company as well. And we'll give you, in fact, let's talk about a few examples. But you also could have wrong person, right seat. And oftentimes in companies, this is something that festers for a long time, right? Maybe you have a rock star project manager as an example. They knock it out of the park. So they're in the right seat, but they leave dead bodies behind them, right? And if that's not something that aligns with your core values, they are hurting your ways and your culture in ways that you can't even imagine. And especially in today's job market, this is really hard for businesses because talent is hard to find right now. But it is fascinating to me. You potentially are losing the right people if you're keeping the wrong person in the right seat. So it has a consequence to your business. So those are a couple of people issues. Be curious to know if anybody, let's have a conversation here, if anybody's had the right person wrong seat or the wrong person right seat in either your current business or businesses that you worked at before. I'd love to talk about that. Julie.
Not an exact example, but earlier today we were discussing a person who is not happy in their role at another company. And this person is a perfect culture fit for us, someone that we adore. We know they work hard, but just doesn't fit the role that we have open, not even close. So that they wouldn't be happy. They would be under stress all the time. It would feel like real work for them to do that job, but it's hard because of the love that we have for this person and how much fun it would be to work with them.
Yeah, you're really, in that case, you're building bench strength, but hopefully there'll be something else for this person in the future in your company. Does anyone else have any examples?
Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, I can give one from my past life of, we had a classic wrong person, right seat, where they did their job very well, but were not a good culture fit. And we were afraid to let them go because they did their job so well, and worried about the people underneath them who would manage that. We can't let this person go because they need to manage all these people. And once the straw finally broke the camel's back and we made a change, all the people under that person blossomed. And it just improved the culture so dramatically within the organization, just letting that wrong fit go and move on.
Yeah, and in the end, hopefully that person found the right fit for them and are flourishing. And we really do want to help people be successful in that way. So it's just something for you to think about. Rob, do you have something?
I think just one example that you alluded to earlier, Michelle, that really always helped me. You mentioned an engineer. Sometimes not that this is just engineers, but sometimes you take someone who's really good at a certain skill set and then think, wow, they're productive. Let's also now put them in a new seat where they're leading and managing people. That can be like a, whoa, I like the engineering technical side, but I don't like dealing with people like that, because there's a conflict and dealing with issues and performance reviews. That to me is a classic wrong seat. And that's where you're, to Julie's point, if they're a good fit for the organization, you don't want to lose them. At the same time, you got to make sure they're in the right seat, because you could lose somebody just because you're putting them in a position that is driving them nuts. They're not comfortable.
Yeah, I know I've worked at a company before where, we had somebody at the front area because that was the only person, but that was the person greeting clients, and the greeting, perfect person, just actually the wrong space, right? Just move that person to a different area where that person can be successful. So really be thinking about what are the requirements of that seat. And if you're expecting other things of that person, you're going to collide. There's going to be a conflict there.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Okay. Let's talk about results. Currently, there are close to 12,000 companies facilitated on EOS. The results are absolutely there, but what do clients say? I mean, what are people saying? And earlier I had talked about accountability and discipline to achieve everything you want from your business. So if you're thinking about getting results for your business, there's lots of companies out there who have implemented EOS, whether through a facilitator or not. There's EOS tools out there, but there's companies that you can talk to if you're curious. But this is what 100% strong looks like. So this just gives you an example of a couple of the key areas, the couple of key tools and disciplines in each of the key categories that are part of the EOS model. And it's about getting companies to at least 80% and higher and getting 100% strong. So resources. I mentioned free tools. If you go to eosworldwide.com, there's lots of foundational tools out there for you to use. We encourage you to do that. Rob and I, if you would like either of us to connect with the leadership team, it's good to have a conversation. We don't drag people around through the EOS process and the journey. It really is a change journey. Whether you want to shift your organization and get strong in each of these 6 key categories, but we're certainly available to meet with leadership teams at no cost. And then, as mentioned earlier, there's a full day conference if you want to dig deeper in October 27th, Mike Payton, and actually the Iowa implementers will all be there in support of your growth and learning. Our goal is to provide resources, tools, and make sure that you leave with tools and resources to be successful. We care about Iowa business. So with that, just any questions, any other questions you have, Rob?
Maybe
Jason?
just quick, I want to just throw out a question. How many on the Zoom session are running on EOS? I know Kim and the Iowa City Area Business Partnership. I know Tony and T&M Services. How many others are running on EOS? Anybody else on the call?
I am. I'm from West Music.
Oh yes. Hi, Stephanie. Yes.
Hi. Yep, I started here last November. We started implementing officially in January or February. So we're coming up on 9 months.
Stephanie, any just summary of what's impact you've seen from EOS so far?
Sure. I think that we've certainly seen the people component that you talk about play out. Right people in right seats. We've seen some changes in seats that have been really successful. We've also seen some people get off the bus and try to find another bus that suits them. And just like you said, it kind of lifts up the people underneath them who can now step into a more fruitful position. And it really was kind of difficult in the beginning because we were really, reforming our culture and our expectations. So that was a little challenging for some people who were implementing this. But once it really got moving, it just it's actually really nice to watch. It's like a well-oiled machine. It just there are results and steps to get those results, and they're very clear and communicated.
That's great, Stephanie. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. I think, those on the phone call, on this Zoom call, excuse me, who aren't running on EOS, I mean, yeah, definitely love to have you come on October 27th and, talk to other companies that have experienced EOS. It's really one of the best ways to get a feel. Talking to Kim or Tony or Stephanie, it's one of the best ways to get a feel for how has EOS made an impact, made an improvement, made the changes that companies value.
And we're passionate about this solution because we've seen it work, but we also, because we care so much about Iowa businesses, as a community, we're here to support you in whatever way that you need. So we want to grow business here with you. And there's lots of resources and people interested in helping each other out.
Mm-hmm.
Rob and Michelle, do you want to talk a little bit about the process? I'm thinking of that flow chart diagram, and as Stephanie talked about, she's in year one. I'm like, oh, are they on vision building day 1 or vision building day 2? Or like, and so, can you give people a summary on like what, if you decide to kind of go forward and using this framework, what's the process for implementing it and starting?
Yeah, it's really a change journey. So I can describe it that there are steps that you'll take. The first 3 days, you really set your foundational tools and your vision for your company. Those 3 days occur over a 2-month period. And then you move into quarterly cadences. So you'll work the 89 days in your business and then 1 day on your business. And typically on average, it takes companies about 18 months to 2 years to fully really learn all the different tools and gain and build that strength. It's one step at a time in strengthening your business. So hopefully, I don't know, Rob, if you have anything else to add to that.
If you don't mind, Michelle, I might just share that on the screen.
Sure.
And I'm not going to duplicate what you just said there, but where did it go? I just lost it.
I can see it.
Good. There you go. So yeah, Michelle was describing this illustration, and it's a sequence learning, stage learning. Learn, go off and execute, implement and execute, come back. How do we do? Make new plans, go off, learn new things, go off, and it running a business is hard. This is a proven process that Gino Wickman, it took about 5 years of working with other business owners and learning what was working and not working, and created this cadence and these tools. And this is the journey. This is the process we go through with pretty much every client. I say that because every so often we join somebody midstream who's self-implemented and it wants to strengthen some things. But if we start from scratch, this is the pure EOS implementation methodology.
Great question. Any other questions, or how can we help you?
And you can put back the screen if you want, Michelle.
Yeah.
I'll let you take it from here on that.
Any areas of the people component that you'd like to talk further about, or questions for your business that we could support?
All
So
right.
fun on Zoom, isn't it? We can't wait to all get back together again. Yeah, feel free if anybody has a question. Our core value is true to the word in that we are here to help, first and foremost.
I'll echo that. Like one of the things that I've really valued in this framework and from the implementers is just how open source it is, in terms of the helpfulness of the implementers, the open source of the tools. There is an option where you can, self-implement or, use an implementer. And I think the whole idea of, using, an implementer is, they get you going in that first year or two, and then the training wheels come off and you're on your own. And so, and the framework really, I think, does a great job of bringing in other methodologies, like that whole, there's a lot to unpack in that people wedge. But there's a lot of other frameworks like, Patrick Lencioni's, the trust index and all of that, and which is why I really like this, but it's also very, flexible in terms of, how you use it. So I forget where I was going with all that, but just to say, like, those are, like Rob and Michelle said, I mean, we're happy to kind of talk with anyone who's kind of looking at it and considering it. And it's really true when they say, like, please reach out, that, we're happy to talk with you more about this and guide you through this. So definitely take them up on that.
Yeah,
This is
It's a great support community too. I love how the implementers kind of get together and talk about things and share information and really, look at best practices and all of that. Tony, how long have you been on EOS?
So we started implementation just about a little over a year ago.
Okay.
And one just little piece I wanted to add, especially for folks who are unsure of what EOS is and some help there, is I'm positively a pretty analytical, slow decision maker. And I looked at EOS and other different types of systems to run your business on, probably for 2 to 3 years, and always found a lot of reasons not to start the process. A couple of things that really stood out to me. First off, I probably spoke to no less than a dozen companies that run on EOS, and I could not find a single company that had negative things to say about the EOS process and that they would have done something differently, almost to the point that it felt a little cult-like. It was like, I've never, I've never, had, talked to so many people and everyone had overwhelmingly positive things to say. And I'm now in a position a year into it that I am by far, but positively an evangelicus for EOS. And the other piece was, I wish I would have started it sooner, and a lot of folks, if it doesn't feel like it's the right time, it is the right time, because it's going to help you just move through whatever is causing you to not implement it. It's going to help you move through that so much faster. And they threw up there, there's a no cost 90-minute session that there's just no harm in going through that. And then if it's not the right time or fit, then that's great. But I think, like I say, just have always, and EOS is pretty well established throughout. I think I'm in central Iowa, but I think throughout Iowa, it's well established, and there's so many folks that you're going to bump into that run EOS that there's a huge support group, and everyone's really really passionate about it. So that's a big piece that I found as a positive for the EOS system in general.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's the passion, I think, more than the cult, but there is so much passion around it. But it's true. And it feels, and there's EOS conferences, and the first time we went to one of those, that was a little strange too, because there is so much energy, and it is, to summarize, the people operating system to harness energy and drive your business forward. So yeah, I should say in addition to that, Tony, there are currently a little over 400, maybe 405 now, implementers around the world.
Yes.
And so you really do, it is really well established, and you really do meet companies who are running on it, but and it's good to have that because it is established. We're not in the first 5 years of this thing, so. Very good. Well, we're here to help, and Iowa City is a resource as well. Just let us know. And hopefully we'll see some of you guys at the conference.
Yes,
And
please come. Please come.
Yeah, so if there aren't any other questions here, we'll give you guys back some time. But yeah, please do reach out to any of us if you have questions. Come on October 27th to learn more. Thank you, Rob and Michelle, for spending time with us today and giving us a little preview of EOS. And again, thank you to our sponsors, MediaCom, BRL, City of Coralville, City of Iowa City, and Terry Lockridge and Dunn for sponsoring this program. And thank you all for being with us this afternoon and learning more. So I hope everyone has a good rest of the day, and we'll see each other again soon.
Very good. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.